Hello and welcome to Dubai Trains, and welcome to this video where we're going to finish this bridge scene that you see right here and the cold trestle scene from one of the previous videos. There's a lot of ground to cover. Literally, we're going to be talking about terraforming, different types of products for abutments, and we need to paint and weather some steel and those bridges. So let's just start right there with the bridges. First thing I did is I found a picture online of a bridge that I like to imitate. So I already base coated the bridge in a darker gray. The question is, how are we going to get all this rusty and this paint faded? That's quite easy. We're going to use the sponging technique like I always do, and we're going to use a neutral gray for the first layer. So here you see it in action. It just immediately takes away, some of the tightness and the neatness of the bridge. It just gives it a bit more depth and layeredness. Don't forget to do the tops, the left, the right, the bottom, and the insides. And here you see the result. I really like it. This step already gives a lot of character to the bridge. Now there is one area in the back where I overshot it a little bit too much, but that's fine. We can fix that later on with the rust. Now for the rust, I did an entire separate video when I painted the barge on which colors you can use for rust and how to use them in which order. So I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'm going to use burnt sienna here for the first layer, and then antique maroon and bittersweet chocolate. So you see the end result basically, and you just sponge it all on. And that bottom plate that's heavily rusted in some areas and not touched in other places is going to be ballasted. We're not going to see that. Here's the result. Now, I did notice the paint with the sponging technique didn't go all the way into the, let's say the edge and the crack in the bottom, where it actually would be very rusty. So I later got a brush and just painted the fresh burnt sienna unmixed straight onto the bridge itself. So here's the before and end result, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with what came out. And here is the bridge in more detail and also compared to the images. So you see we have a little bit more rust and a little bit less fading, but over time the real bridge might get some more rust as well, and then we're going to be spot on. Now onto the cold trestle, and if you look at the prototype pictures, the top and everything that is sunstroke basically is very light gray. So I put initially a light wash on the entire trestle, and later I actually went back and put a heavier wash specifically on the top, a light gray wash, to try to recreate that effect. And then for the wood of the trestle legs, let's say, I took that same bittersweet chocolate and some black and also some grays, and I dry brushed it very carefully onto the wooden beams in the larger sections of wood. A bit difficult to catch that on camera, but here you see a close-up. Next component is a track. I pre-rusted that before installing it. One of the main elements are also these steel retaining walls, and I painted those in two different types of weathering. Look at my video where I paint the barge apron to see exactly how I did this. But the type on the top is basically the inland retaining wall that's going to be used at cold trestle. So that's weather different than the one in the bottom that sees water variations and has newer rust and older rust mixed together. So, and we're back, and we made a little bit of progress. Finish everything yet, but what I did is I filled in everything that needed to have some terraforming. I think that's the word I'm going to go for today, terraforming. So, and I put the structure in place. So I just got some pieces of cardboard just like this, cut little strips, and glued them down with the glue gun. It's really easy to do. I did my entire previous layout in this method, and some advantages are that it's just really cheap to do. It costs almost nothing. It just costs you some cardboard, some PVA glue. I just get a big bottle of cheap stuff, and a glue gun. And so I'm not gonna say it's free, but it's almost free. You get handy with it. You get get into some free forming right there. This was a super easy section. It's going flat. Because remember the thingamajig is going to be here. The apron for the car float, that's there. This terrain is in place right here. Terrain's in place right here. Get some more terraforming back there. A little bit more back there. It still needs to be covered. That's the next step. You need to cover this with tissue paper. You'll see that in a minute. with some very diluted PVA glue with some water, just to fill it in, and so you can put your ground cover, whatever you choose, on top without it going through the holes. And that also gives you a final chance to change the shape a bit and to make it a little bit more accurate as you wish, and also to ensure that you don't see these bumps from the cardboard, etc., etc. The bridges are down, they're in place. The bridge stops, they're there. I glued it all down. It was a bit of a commitment time to glue everything down. And I think a lot of people want to see me finish all this, but I'm just going to take a break from this scene. Actually, I'm going to put the track down because it's important that you keep doing what you want to do in the hobby and in the channel, because if I start doing stuff because I think that the people want to do stuff, see it, then at some point I'm just not going to enjoy it, and then it's no longer a hobby for me. So I am going to finish this. I'm going to cover this up. I'm going to paint it so it looks a little bit more decent. Same with that back there. I'm going to put the track back, and then I'll paint this another day. That's fine. I'll probably paint the water and then come back and do the groundworks. I'll put this in place. This Chooch Industries, I think. Here's brickwork. It's flexible. So I've made good use of the flexibility here. So as you see, I actually took a round piece of wood and glued that on there as a kind of guide to make sure that it's really nice and round. This edge, I'm not really happy with that. It's a bit too sharp. I'm just thinking what to do with this. I might have some terrain flow over to have a little bit of soil here, just as like an overspill of like the cut rock that like disappeared or something. I don't know yet. But I don't like it like this. It's way too sharp. The classic one would be to put some bushes here or something, but I don't want to go that way. Yeah, this is actually a bit soft, squishy, but it looks like it's steel, but it's not. So that's this scene. And here, the cold trestle area. I glued this down. I put the track on, as you see. So I've got the cars, just like that, not too fast. Someone asked in the comments down below, do engines with wood locomotives go onto the trestle? And to be honest, I don't know. From a weight perspective, I don't think it's an issue. The smaller engines weigh a little bit, some weigh less and some weigh a little bit more than a coal car. I don't think there's a trackage right issue. And I don't know of anyone using a handle car or whatever it's called, just a flat car, to reach in to get these coal cars. I don't read anything about that. So I think the locomotive would just go on the coal trestle. And if it doesn't, then you can also just use another car that you have at your disposal as a handle car. You don't need a separate handle car. So we have some terrain. We talked about this scene in great detail in the last video. So we got the building here that has its primer on it. I'm going to cheat to paint this, so separate video on that. This was, that's not supposed to happen. That didn't happen. This landscape is just a little bit flat down like this. It's going to be covered, most of it. You might see some soil here and there. No rocks or anything like that. This is not a rocky area. It's all going to be soil. And a bit of a green patch here. I didn't glue these in place yet because we have this signal bridge, oops, and that has to go somewhere here. But still need to figure that out a little bit, and what to do with the wires, how it's going to work. These things need way more painting, but this is just a primer and a paint of the wheel, so on that later, doesn't matter. These guys, you can stick them in here to a different shape between different coal types of aggregates. Things that happen. I did put this in here, as you see. I glued that down mostly, and some more terraforming here. This is a bit the idea that I wanted. That there's actually soil everywhere except for here. This is going to be a structure right there. I did get the kit. I did get that kit in, and it's a Laser Kit Express Grand a yard office. It's obviously not going to be a yard office. It's going to be a coal dealer office, but this seemed to be the right kind of seriousness that this building needed not to have. It needed to be just a simple wooden shack where they made, basically sell the coal, right? So that is now taking shape. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the camera down. You're probably going to see it right now in the B-roll. And I'm just going to apply the tissue paper. So just to show how cheap this method is, this is I think a $1.50 roll. It's almost finished, but it was a big roll. It's only $1 or so. It's the very diluted PVA glue and just totally saturate everything. I just get it all down, add 2-3 layers of this tissue paper. Yeah, smudge it a bit with a brush, make sure the wrinkles are how you want it, or if you want it wrinkle-free, it's wrinkle-free. And that's that. So there you have it. It's all dried up now. And I colored it with some leftover paint just to get the whiteness off of it. It still needs ground cover and texture and water here, and it still needs a lot of work, but for now it's good. I glued this barrier onto it, and then here is quite a sharp transition, as I mentioned, into the brick. But looking at some prototype pictures, these sharp transitions actually happened. So I think maybe after I weather this all and maybe put some soil or some reed plants in here just to tie it all in, I think that's going to look fine and prototypical. So I'm going to leave that. Going down further down to the bridge, this looks great. Yeah, I obviously put the bridges in place, and I glued the track down, but the tracks over the bridge are still somewhat loose, so I can shove the real joiners a bit to the side, so I can take that out, so I can finish this scene, because yeah, it's obviously not finished. But I must say the brown paint just really helps a lot to make it all, be a little more tied in and just to look a bit more natural. This is the solution that I use. Here is just land that's going down, and here as well, the land, it just goes down, and from here it also goes down. And because don't forget, we have a river here. So we're modeling a spring, so the creek will be a little bit dried up. So to help simulate that, I put some tissue paper as well on the insides of this creek bed, where water is definitely not flowing. Apologies for the AC that's switching on in the background, but it's heating up in this country, so I'm going to have a lot of AC noise from now on. Or I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to sweat it out, which is also fine. So I cleaned up the layout. This was such a mess. Cleaned it up, I vacuumed it, so I need to put those cars away. That building that I was talking about in the earlier videos, the yard office, I think I'm going to put it right here as an office for the car float. And here is a nice place, so it's off the road. The cars can park here, or maybe I can put somewhere here. We have a car park for the people that work there. On the back side is some shed and some access for some tools and whatnot for this area. As you see, and I discussed it before in a previous video, these are just placeholders saying that some building has to be here. I could try to put this kit here, maybe. That actually is not a bad idea. Or I can put it, maybe not there, doesn't fit. But that doesn't fit as well. But I thought here might be nice. I don't know. Let me see. Let me think. There's some greenery here is nice as well. But you do need to reach in a lot over here. Not so much over here, to be honest. So structure here might make sense. Well, this is a low structure, so it might make sense. But having tall trees here definitely doesn't make sense. So maybe I'll put a tree right there. No, not going to work. It's supposed to be industrial, no trees. So let me just put this here for now until I come maybe with a better idea. This area is somewhat finished. This signal gantry bridge type thing needs to go here, and that's why I didn't glue this down yet. I need to think how I'm going to do that with the wires, because I need to be able to easily access them. Because I'm just going to put it as a placeholder now, and maybe a year down the line or something, I'm going to connect it. So then it does need to be able to be connected. I don't want to rip out the whole scene then. So you see the cars are on here. That works out fine. Still needs a lot of scenery, but that's not what we're doing now. We just put the train in here, train in here. I think that looks fine. And just a little, retainer wall here for the structure. And the wall here is finished. Bit bumpy, it's fine. We'll just put some soil on it, some ground turf, put it down, some greenery, and maybe you can have some turf exposed. And if you don't like this level of detail, and if you're watching the Boomer, have been watching the Boomer Dioramas channel a lot, you can still add texture paste to this. That is absolutely fine. I made my previous layout with this style, with the cardboard, and then with the tissue paper. And it's just incredibly cheap and fast to do. And that's why I like to do it. And it's kind of flexible. You get used to it. You can make the shapes you want, etc. For me, this is enough for now. I'm just going to at some point finish this scene, and then when the entire rest of the layout is done with all these structures, then I can always come back here and even just rip this out and use all kinds of texture paints and whatnot to make that nice. But for now, I think we're going to leave it right there. So the next step is this building. Tomorrow, I have a secret plan coming in, and I'm going to finish this building tomorrow. I'm going to cheat, and I might make an entire separate video on how to cheat to paint this. And I already knew the trouble I was getting myself into when I got this structure, this kit. The issue is that it's a single cast, like the front side is a single cast molding. So all these details of the window sills and maybe different brick colors you want to use, you have to paint everything. And so let's see, tomorrow I have a secret plan coming in, and I'm also going to add a, what do you call that? Decal on this side of a nice, old like Coca-Cola or drink Budweiser or whatever advertisement that was there. So I'll show you guys how to do that, and I'm going to explain how I cheated in a separate video. So what's up next is actually the brewery run. We got this engine. We're going to run it with Blue Nami. And for everyone who's been, let me just we're going to do some switching with Blue Nami, see how that goes. I haven't seen anyone do that before. And if you remember this, we set out the Pensley Hosser. That one's ready to go. Hasn't left yet. And up next is the brewery. It has to come in. So this whenever brewery out is going to be whenever brewery in. These two are going to meet somewhere near north. And then we're going to do the brewery. That's going to be a fun run. And that's all for today. I'm really going to now finish the video. We want to thank you guys all for watching. That's it for today, and bye-bye.